Hey guys, how's it going? So, as I've said in the last couple of shorts, I am going to transition this channel from making big money online and being super productive to the step that must come before that if you've been through some stuff in your life. And we've all been through stuff. This is not about being a victim. This is about being real and saying that if you keep self-sabotaging, if you're having like massive physiological and kind of mental discomfort to just put a social media post out there. And I'm not talking about the normal level of anxiety. I'm talking about crippling where it triggers you have a deep fear of failure or a deep fear of being judged. And again, everybody's fearful of that in the beginning, but I'm talking about a crippling level, like next level stuff. You have got to resolve that before you try and be successful. For years, I watched stuff by Iman Gadzhi and all of these great people like Tim Ferriss, and I so desperately wanted to be like that, making money online. I've known about Tim Ferriss for over 10 years. I was introduced to him by a friend. He wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. So I've got the whole concept of systems and Pareto's Law, and I can explain to you all of their tactics logically in decent detail. But when it would come to me implementing it, looking back now, there was a pattern of self-sabotage and me blocking myself. And it wasn't until a few years ago that an event happened in my life which was extremely stressful, and yeah, I fell to a pretty dark place for about 6 or 7 months. And if I'm honest, probably there's something in there that still lingers from that. I thought I dealt with it all, and then somebody started asking me about it just a week ago, and I had to hold myself together. Like, I didn't realize. Anyway, so the point is, that's what I'm going to transition this channel to. Sharing with you guys everything I've learned about how to process your trauma and how to increase your self-esteem, how to become aware of toxic family dynamics, which is what burned me very badly, and how to handle it as best you can. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist. This is just from my experience from studying neuro-linguistic programming and that not working for me at all. And I learned from both creators, John Grinder and Richard Bandler, going to Tony Robbins' flagship event, Date with Destiny, and none of it working for me. And I didn't know why. And doing hours and hours of months of self-hypnosis every day, and I researched all of this stuff, mindfulness, you name it, I did it, and none of it would work. Basically, when that event happened in my life, in one sense I held it together very well, in another sense the wheels were coming off a bit, you could say. I fell to a pretty dark place, and I never would consider a certain option, which you'll know what I'm talking about, as an option. But I didn't really want to be here for that much longer, but it was never an option. I never considered it as an option, so I'd never label myself as having that. But when you keep thinking every single day, like extremely dark nihilistic thoughts. Anyway, yeah. So the top 2 books I've read which have helped me, which I will try and explain the path I went through. So the first thing I did was I saw a few counselors, actually, talk therapists, and to be honest, it takes a while to find a decent one. The first 3 I saw I just didn't click with them, and actually 2 of them did more harm than good, because they brought one of my family members in who they were actually friends with, which is a no-no. That's called the golden triangle thing. It was supposed to be completely impartial, and it did a lot of damage. Eventually, right at the last moment where I couldn't take it, I guess, anymore, I managed to, I got to say, I think it was God's provision for me. I believe in God. I can't tell you, I put all my hope in this other person, and then when they read through kind of what I was experiencing, they said, I can't help you with this. This is, they said, but I know someone who might do. They're very experienced, and that's the person I saw. So I saw a good counselor. So if you are really struggling, that might be an option you could consider. There are charities, like for example in St. James, Piccadilly area, there's St. James Church, which is like a hyper-liberal church. There's a caravan there where they do like, you can walk in, but my point is there are charitable services, and yes, if you have an unlimited budget or some kind of a budget to pay £200 an hour to see a great trauma-informed counsellor, like polyvagal theory is great, powerful, then great. And you've got to click with them personally as well. But if not, then, wow, I don't know. You could try talking to AI. I hate to say that because I'm not sure where this is all going, but so that's what I did. And then I read a series of books. I became aware of inner child theory, but there are 2 books. You've got to do the exercises in the books as well. I'll say that much. Like inner child theory will try and get you to, a lot of them will have you write a letter from your inner child, which is just a part of your personality, which is often left behind, kind of locked in a dungeon, and that's what can do a lot of damage. With your non-dominant hand from your inner child to you, the adult. And that actually kind of activates a certain part of the brain. So you've got to do the exercises in the books, but the top 2 books are How to Do the Work by Nicole LePera and The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. And yeah, both of them kind of give an overview of everything. Brianna West is somebody who read 400 books in this sort of that section of the bookstore, and I don't know why she did that. She obviously was struggling a bit, but yeah, they're the 2 great books to start to understand what is going on with your body, because until you get your trauma and your stuff resolved, and that can take months and actually a couple of years to get through the worst of it, and it can get worse before it gets better when you start digging down. I'll warn you now, you will need support from your friends. Don't isolate. Whatever you do, don't isolate. Join a sports club, join a chess club, bridge, arts club, anything, like a good friendly church, anything, rather than isolating and going through this stuff on your own, because you can drop to a bit of a slump. But if you process this stuff properly, get an understanding of it, it can free you in the end. If you have any questions, give me questions. But I truly believe that this is the foundation: physiology and resolving trauma, and then mindset and tactics and strategy and Tim Ferriss stuff, which I love all of that stuff. But if it's sat on the foundation of a person who's completely got stuff in their system which is going to cause them to self-sabotage, and they've got very low self-esteem and massive, like, crippling self-doubt, you're not going to be able to just fail forward and fail fast, fail often. None of that strategy stuff will work for you, because your brain is fighting you're in survival mode. So yeah, they're the top 2 books: How to Do the Work, Nicole LePera, and The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. Other notable books are the books by John Bradshaw. That's really the book that opened my eyes to everything that had happened growing up. It was called Healing the Shame That Binds You. Some of it's a bit out there, and it's not easy reading, it's a bit dry, but boy, did that book helped me to see stuff that once I'd seen, I could not unsee it in my family. It was changed my life, like truly changed my life. And then there's Homecoming. There's her name is Lucia Capaccioni. You have to do the exercises though. And then yeah, How to Do the Work by Nicole LePera and The Mountain Is You. They're the 2 books to start on, I would say. Learn about the stuff, process it. Hit me if you have any questions. And fellas, if any of you are out there and who are struggling, like, with all of the symptoms from this, then you're not alone. Loads of people are in this, they're going through it, and they heal and come out of it. Different people. And the people who do that and rebuild can become some of the most powerful, successful people out there. So don't worry about that. But yeah, I truly believe that unless you resolve this stuff, you will be limited in life. And to go back to Gadji, I believe that that's what he did. I think he saw maybe some professionals to talk some of this stuff out, or mentors. He managed to, I think he has a mum who supported him. Maybe not all the way, it sounds like they had a bit of undulance in that relationship. He had to take some radical steps to whatever, I don't want to talk about his story necessarily because I don't know everything, and it's all on his channel anyway. But I think he would agree with me that you've got to resolve this stuff so that your self-image heals. If your self-image is utterly damaged, he talks about this, you don't get what you're worth, you get paid what you think you're worth, and that's linked to your self-image. And your self-image can be tarnished if you've been kind of abused, basically. Yeah, so I hope this helps somebody. Hit me with any questions and speak soon.